Liberty would have fortified his power because Napoleon had established in France all that ought to precede liberty, because his power reposed upon the whole mass of the nation, because his interests were the same as those of the people, because finally the most perfect confidence reigned between the ruler and the governed. In fact, without identical interests, without absolute confidence, no authority is possible. However well a government may act or intend to act, it is doomed to perish if evil intents are attributed to all its acts. One of the indispensable qualities of government, said M. Thiers, is to have that good reputation which defends it from injustice. When it has lost that, and everything, even the wrongs of others and a fortune, is imputed as a crime, there remains no longer the faculty of governing, and this lack of authority should condemn it to retire. In England in 1687, the want of confidence of the people towards a sovereign led to fatal consequences. The King, James II, published of his own authority a Declaration of Liberty of conscience for all his subjects, but the nation distrusted the intention of the sovereign, and thinking that he desired by the declaration to favor the triumph of Catholicism, felt indignant at an act which it suspected of duplicity, although the principle involved was just and generous. To the Emperor Napoleon, on the contrary, possessing the confidence of the people, all was easy. He had at the beginning surmounted the greatest difficulty and laid the principal foundations of a solid establishment by reconciling among themselves all the members of the French family. All agreed as to the fundamental basis of the Constitution. The interests of the majority were mingled to such a degree with those of his dynasty that in 1811, on the very spot where a few years before implacable hatred to royalty had been sworn, all Paris and all France were seen to salute with their acclamations the birth of a child, because that child appeared to be a pledge of the duration and stability of the imperial government. Beloved especially by the people, could Napoleon fear to grant political rights to all citizens? After being chosen consul for life, he reestablished the principle of the right of election and used these significant words: for the sake of the stability of the government, it is necessary that the people should have a share in the elections. Thus, already in 1803, Napoleon foresaw that liberty would fortify his power, his warmest partisans being among the people. The more he lowered the electoral qualification, the better chances had his natural friends of arriving at the legislative assembly. The more power he gave to the masses, the more he strengthened his own. Nor would liberty of discussion in the chambers have endangered the imperial government, for all being agreed upon the fundamental questions in opposition would only have had the effect of giving birth to a noble emulation, and instead of expending its energies in attempting the overthrow of government, it would have confined its efforts to endeavoring to improve it. Finally, the liberty of the press would have served only to exhibit in better light the grandeur of the plans of Napoleon to proclaim the benefits attending his reign as general, consul, emperor, having done everything for the people. Would he have feared being reproached with making conquests which had resulted in the prosperity and glory of France and in the peace of the world? Would he have feared that a more brilliant glory would have been contrasted with his own? No. A government glorious with laurels, both civil and military, could not have feared the light. More moral power and authority has, the less necessity does it feel to employ material forces, and the more power public opinion confers upon it, the better able it is to dispense with using it. Let us repeat, then, identity of interests of the sovereign and the people is the essential foundation of a dynasty. A government is firmly and immovably seated when it can say to itself that which will be for the advantage of the greatest number, that which will secure the liberty of the citizen and the prosperity of the country, will constitute the force of my authority and will consolidate my power. But when a government finds partisans only in a single class, when liberty furnishes arms only to its enemies, how can one hope that it will enlarge the system of election, that it will favor liberty? Can a government be expected to commit suicide? Thus, under Napoleon, a normal state was arrived at without shocks, without troubles, a state in which liberty would have been the support of power, the guarantee of public welfare, instead of being a weapon of war and a torch of discord. It is with an impression similar to that which follows an intoxicated dream that one dwells upon the picture of happiness and stability that Europe would have presented if the comprehensive plans of the emperor had been realized. Each country limited by its natural boundaries, united to its neighbors by relations of interest and friendship, would have enjoyed the benefits of independence, of peace, and of liberty. And sovereigns free from fear and suspicion would have applied themselves to improving the condition of their people and to introducing among them all the advantages of civilization. Instead of that, what have we now in Europe? Everyone, when he goes to sleep at night, fears the awakening of the morning, for the germs of evil are distributed everywhere, and every honest soul dreads even blessings because of the sacrifices which must be made to obtain them. Friends of liberty, who have rejoiced at the downfall of Napoleon, your error has been fatal. How many tedious years must pass, how many struggles and sacrifices must be gone through and suffered before you will arrive again at the point to which Napoleon had advanced you. And you, statesmen of the Congress of Vienna, who have been made masters of the world while standing upon the ruins of the empire, you might have played a splendid part, but you did not comprehend it. You have aroused the people in the name of liberty and even of license against Napoleon. You have put him under the ban of Europe as a despot and a tyrant. You claim to have delivered the nations and assured their repose. They for a moment have believed you, but nothing solid and permanent can ever be built upon falsehood and error. Napoleon had closed the gulf of revolutions. You, overthrowing him, have reopened it. Take care that the gulf does not swallow you up.